Hey everybody, it's Joseph Bradley from Almond Ross, day 7 of the trip. Sitting by a couple of the old military vehicles left during the Second World War up in the Kennel Road. Anyway, we'll talk a bit about what Spirit has to say today. I see I'm walking down, it's a parade, there's people on either side making all kinds of noise. It's a military parade. There's balloons. There's even confetti being thrown into the air. It's a celebration. It's the end of the war. This comes to a complete stop. I turn around. And there's ghosts, so as far as I can see, walking in the parade. But nobody sees them. They just see the people that came home. They don't see all the people. All the people that have been horribly killed during the war. Some do, but some are happy to see the men coming back, but some are sad because their loved ones didn't come back. And I look into the crowd and I see the people that lost their loved ones. The loved ones are standing beside them. But nobody sees them. Maybe the family sensed them, and that's why they're so sad. After the parade is gone, people start walking away. But there's still so many walking behind them. The parade, so many dead. It goes out of the city and into the countryside. I go to the end, the last one, standing. There's two big angels walking behind them. Slow, get pushed forward. They're not nice at all, these angels. They span up into the air. I see this from above. There's an angel looking down upon them with tears falling down on them. We leave the city. We go across the ocean. To the devastation that is left behind. There's ghosts wandering the streets, looking for someone, but can't find them. There's people that have no homes, but people start coming together as one. The celebration in one country is a celebration in another, but in a different way. The celebration of people coming together, to working together to fix the devastation that has the storm that has now passed. What happens if we reverse the situation and the devastation was back in the city and the parade was on the other side of the ocean? I believe that the country would come together like they did in Europe after the Second World War. I would hope they would. I believe they would. But it would have been a different future for the United States if the war happened there, fought on their lands, fought in their towns. It would have been a different future. But the angel looks down upon us all. So we repeat this. So the lands are fought, the wars are fought in everybody's homes. Or shall we finally put an end to this countless suffering? If you look at the Middle East, the things that are done there are horrific. ISIS, for instance, the things they do to show the world. They do extreme things to get attention, spreading fear across the Middle East and across the world. But what happens if we did not show any fear? Instead, we stood up to them. The Middle East people stood up to them and said enough is enough. But how do you do that? You walk up to a person with a gun and they shoot you, you die. So how do you stand up to something like that? How do you defeat that? How do you stop wars from happening? There's times where you need to fight. That is true. If someone goes to kill your child, do you stop them or you let them kill them? You would stop them with everything you can. But the question is, in order to stop the violence, you have to stop the violence in men's hearts. So how do you do that? By changing everything around yourself. By filling yourself with love. To fill your children with love. Stop the arguing and the hate. Instead, love your children. Show them that every race, every human being, every religion is fine as long as the people choose that. But when you show children intolerance, hatred towards others, intolerance towards other religions, that there's something wrong with them if you're not part of that religion. You choose to feed hate. You choose to spread fear. This the only way to stop wars is to change what is in men's hearts and women's hearts and children's hearts. Because if you change the children, you change the future. We always look at children as children. They can play, they're a nuisance. They mean nothing. Why not embrace them, inspire them to be the best they can be, to love them when they need to be loved, to hold their hands when they want you to hold their hands. Because how will they ever grow up if you never hold their hands? They will never hold anybody's hands. They'll never love anyone if they're never loved. But that's not necessarily true. Because there's times where, man, when you grow up, you choose a different life. You choose to go against how you were brought up, to choose to be full of love and compassion. But that is only some. You could also choose to love unconditionally your child for your whole life and they become corrupted. Why does that happen? It's not necessarily you. It's the energy that's around them. It's not just you that they see. It's not just you that they feel. It's everything around them. So we look at our kids today, they are difficult. They are different from when we were younger. Why is that? Because they sense everything that is going on to the world. Every time they watch TV, every time they walk down the street, every time they listen to music, every time they see you do what you do, what the neighbors do, what the neighbors' kids do, what the kids do in school, what they teach, it affects them as it affected you. There's old souls that can overcome this, but there's some that cannot. So they fall into a pattern of greed and hatred and fear. Because that's what they see. That is what's promoted. A news broadcast, fear-based news, hate news all the time. What happens if they stopped doing that and did nothing but good things? Sent and only covered good things. People's fear would start to subside. What happens every time if you chose a different path, a different choice? Instead of yelling, you chose to hug your children, to tell them that you understand and you'll work with them. But that is difficult. When a child does something bad, it is easier just to respond in the same negative way. Instead, walk your children through what they have seen, what they've done. It's not easy. It might not be the perfect thing either because there's so many different variables to everything. And when you're a parent, you understand that. Children can be so difficult. They push you to the absolute limit. A lot. So how do we as society fix this? I think one of the biggest problems that we lost our children because we don't work together in anything anymore. When you become a parent, you're left. You're actually looked upon by a lot of people in a different way. Your friends will walk away. You will lose a lot of your people that you thought were friends. You'll be left alone. The government doesn't really do much of anything to help you. do little bits, but it is so difficult. There's such a burden placed upon parents. So people just don't choose to have kids. But that's not the solution either. The solution is to come together. When you live in a town, you live in a community. Be a community. Help one another. If you see someone struggling, stop and help them. See, that's what's so difficult nowadays. Because at one time, if somebody was broken down on the side of the road, you wouldn't think twice of stopping and helping them, even if it inconvenienced you. You would see an old man shoveling the driveway. You would tell him to go relax, I'll do it for you. The younger ones, of course. You would help old people. If there was a man in the street lying down, you would go kneel down and ask why. Why are you here? Are you okay? Instead, we just walk over them thinking they're drunken fools, drug addicts. They're not worth our help. That is a problem. It has not had an easy solution. It's going to take a different way of thinking. It's going to take time and effort. It's going to take compassion and love, respect. How many times have you said you would do something and never got around to doing it? And that child or that person, that friend, a loved one was really, really, really looking forward to that. And you never did it because you just didn't make the time. It's not that you had the time, we know we're busy. And there holds another problem. Society and structure. It isn't healthy. It needs to be relooked at. The way money is distributed, the way work is done, our work days, our work weeks, our work years, vacations. Everything has to be relooked at. How are you supposed to be able to be the best you can be when you can't even have the time to think? You don't even have the time. So every precious time that you have, you just try to do something with your kids, do something with your lover, do something with your friends. That's not right. Life is not about working yourself to death and not enjoying it at all, not finding the time to meditate in solitude, to spend time with your kids to help them learn and grow. See, back in a time, even 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, people used to take the time to help each other. I mean, not all cultures did. There's some horrible, horrible things that has happened. But if you look at a farmer, a farming community, for instance, they used to help each other out. The good ones. There was always ones that were greedy. We know that. But people used to work together. The families used to work, help each other out. See, when they were working together as a unit. But that was different. Going together, be isolated from your family completely, never seeing them, is part of the problem. Electronics are part of the problem, but they don't have to be. The things that we've done now, the things that we invented, can change a world really quickly. Allow us to have the time to spend with our families, not tie us down to massive debt. We need to do something soon, and we need to do something. We need to make some hard decisions. How else is the world going to change? The vehicles you see beside me were left here by the US military during the Second World War. But there's also a lot of things that were buried in this place that will never be admitted. Why does that have to happen? If you go into a country, Canada is guilty, US is guilty, Europe is guilty, Russia is guilty, Asia is guilty. All the countries are guilty of doing this, leaving massive amounts of stuff because it's convenient just to leave it there, instead of taking it back out. It's kind of cool to have old vehicles in the middle of nowhere. But at the same time, what else was buried? What else was left behind? We need to start looking at what we do. When we're going on a hike, pick up your trash, take it out with you. Don't leave it there. I spend a lot of time in the wilderness in the Yukon, and no matter where you go, it could be the most isolated spot. Somebody has jumped their trash. Just threw it on the ground. It's not necessary to do that. When you have a fire burning, you can burn most of your trash. You're in the middle of nowhere if you have nowhere to put it. It's not recommended to have food because it attracts wild animals. But you don't have to leave it thrown aside, just left there. When I come up here, it's literally one of the most isolated places you can go. And everywhere you look, there's old barrels of oil, not just left from the military, but left from the mining industry, from helicopters, planes. There's all kinds of trash left behind, metal pieces scattered everywhere. When they build a new bridge, they just take all their stuff and throw it aside on the side. It's like, is it really necessary that we do this? So when you're driving in a pristine, beautiful environment, and you come across all this trash, even in some of the most isolated places, you have to ask yourself, why does it need to be this way? Because it's convenient and cheaper just to leave it behind. Anyway, that's all we have to share today. I'm Joseph Bradley, and I'm the voice of Amen Ross. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Goodbye.